The innovations continue at OWC, Other World Computing. Welcome back to Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us from OWC once again is founder and CEO Larry O'Connor. Great to see you again, Larry.
Yeah, likewise, Fred. I appreciate being here.
Well, OWC is again helping to lead the way with devices for creators, and you've got some choices for folks in the OWC Envoy line that are new. Give us the overview.
Sure. The Envoy today goes from the Envoy, which is a super compact, super high speed portable SSD, 1 TB and 2 TB that goes up to 1,000 MB a second. Then we go into the Envoy Electron, which is a rugged, waterproof, pretty much indestructible drive that goes up to 4 TB and also over 1,000 megs a second. Then you move into the FX, which moves into Thunderbolt and close to 3,000 megs a second peak. And then we have the Envoy Ultra, which is the very first Thunderbolt 5 portable SSD ever produced and provided. That drive hits speeds of over 6,000 megs a second in sustained reads. It's very high speed for writes and takes full advantage of what Thunderbolt 5 can do. And we've got other solutions as well, like the Express 1 M2, which meets the needs for those that want to do it themselves, add their own drive, or buy a pre-built solution for up to 8 TB of storage, and once again, data rates that sustain close to 3,000 megs a second. There's a wide array in the Envoy line, something really for everybody. Maybe too many choices. Actually, here's one other choice too for ultra portable. I don't want to leave out the Envoy Pro Mini, which gives you both USB-A and USB-C, so really easy to go between computers, new, old, and whatever ports you might have available, even on the latest system with all your Type-Cs are taken up. Now, this also does 10 gigabit over a Type-A. So this is a portable thumb-sized drive, but it's not a thumb drive. It's actually a fully functional SSD, once again, sustaining speeds about 1,000 megs a second, and an ultra-portable and also very rugged design. And these solutions aren't just built for some nice synthetic benchmarks. They work at high speeds in the real world. So whether you're backing up data or producing audio and video, these solutions sustain the speeds necessary. And we put these in our specs so you know what they can do, but they actually sustain speeds to be productive versus just give you a flash in the pan and then slow down. The Envoy Pro Mini and the Electron, for example, are some of the only USB-C 10 gigabit drives that are certified for applications like AGA.
Wow. And you pay a lot of attention to design, and that goes through your whole product line, I think, as well. In addition to that, these can also work with mobile devices and such as well?
Correct. Yeah, the latest iPhones, the iPads with Type-C connect and bus power these solutions as well. So it's really nice to have this interoperability. And we ship with APFS already pre-formatted to these units, so they're prepared for first and foremost, they're prepared for Mac. And as opposed to using exFAT, APFS is a modern file system that has data protections, really disconnect or how do I say circumstantial, I guess you say protections. If something goes, there's an accidental disconnect or an intentional disconnect when it's not been dismounted, if there's a power drop, any number of different things that can happen while using a system. When you have APFS or for practical purposes, why am I forgetting Windows NTFS? These file systems have protections that keep your data safe in the event of let's just call it a non-scheduled interruption. When you use an exFAT drive, and a lot of drives ship today preformatted with exFAT, number one is you get to higher capacities. There's just a higher risk of problems, even without any adverse impact. But in the case of a disconnect or other things that can go wrong with the system, exFAT really leaves your data vulnerable. And for our PC users, we have Mac Drive, which lets you read and write natively to an APFS volume. So if you have if you're using iPads and Macs and PCs together, using Mac Drive on your PC means you can plug and play, this Apple APFS volume, have all those modern file system protections, and go between the systems with ease. And I think that's something, a lot of things happen that people, don't know the background on, with just a kind of, I guess you could say, a consumer standard exFAT formatted drive. that leads to data loss or data corruption or problems that is very preventable if you're using, again, a modern file system. If you're on a Windows machine and only using Windows, use NTFS. If you're on a Mac system, you should be using APFS. And you can reformat these drives, granted, to either of these file systems. If you're in a mixed environment, whether it's an iPad and a PC, a Mac and a PC, or all three, then APFS is the way to go. And then again, Mac Drive on the PC. One of the best backups as we move into the National Backup, World Backup Day, is to prevent data loss just through good practices. And a good practice is to use a file system that's actually going to protect your data. exFAT is universal and is plug and play on Mac and PC, but it's also archaic and has zero file system protections for all practical purposes. One little disconnect and all your data can be gone. The drive can be corrupted, and the repair is recovery and repair is a very painful process on any drive.
Great advice. And I know a lot of the disconnects, simple forgetfulness, pulling the plug when you shouldn't, right?
100%.
And then you have some other solutions that are new too, like the Gemini and Thunderbay 4. Tell us what you're doing there.
Sure. Gemini is a two-drive RAID system. You can operate it either in a strike mode for high performance or a mirrored mode where both drives replicate each other in real time. So if at some point, hard drives are mechanical, they do have a lifespan. It tends to be many, many years, but whether it's fluke or physical, whatever the issue might be, with a RAID 1, if one drive fails, you still have full data accessibility on the other drive. It's a live backup for all practical purposes. And then the other benefit of the Gemini also functions as a full-featured Thunderbolt dock. It gives you display, it gives you multiple USB ports, it gives you a reader, it even gives you Ethernet for connecting to a local network. So it's a Thunderbolt dock along with a dual drive RAID system that's up to 48 terabytes today. So a lot, from 4 terabytes to 48 terabytes of storage, plus gives you docking all in one. Some folks actually, some reviewers nickname it the photographer's friend because it has the SD port and has all that storage, which is fast, and the docking you need. It's kind of an all-in-one solution, for a lot of people's needs out there.
Just terrific. Sounds versatile. You've got the new Thunderbolt standard out there now, Thunderbolt 5, and I guess more and more computers or PC makers are getting on board here.
It's coming along. Apple has certainly led the way. They probably have the most. If you look at volume today, there's probably more Thunderbolt 5 Macs out there than there are all the PC makers combined. But we're seeing there'll be a lot of new Thunderbolt 5 PCs, I think, coming more into the mainstream over the next few months. I think some of that's going to be driven by the new video chipsets that have kind of finally made it to market. But going into Thunderbolt 5, Thunderbolt 4 and 3 and 4 are basically the same. They're the same 40 gigabit PCI Gen 3 over wire interface. Gives ample bandwidth for just about everything that you could possibly need. Thunderbolt 5, which does step up your data rate capability. I think the biggest thing with Thunderbolt 5 is how much bandwidth you now have for both video and for data. On a 40 gigabit Thunderbolt system, there are data devices that max out on those buses. And if you plug in a video, if you want to have a hub, like our Thunderbolt 4 hub or a Thunderbolt 4 dock for that matter, once you connect any kind of display through the same port, and you're sharing the bandwidth over a single 40 gigabit port, your data devices ultimately get slowed down. If even just with a 4K display connected in, you no longer have all the other 28 gigabits for data. With Thunderbolt 5, you can plug our Thunderbolt 5 hub into a Thunderbolt 5 port. You can have a full speed 4 gigabit device like our Thunderblade, a Thunderbay, which is doesn't quite max a bus, but would still be encroached upon with video on an older machine. But long and short is you can plug in these data. You can even plug in the fastest, our Thunderblade X12, which will be showing just here in 2 weeks at NAB, which maxes what Thunderbolt 5 can do over data. You can plug that into our hub, plus 2 displays into the same hub, and everything has enough bandwidth to operate. If you did that, if you plug a Thunderblade into a Thunderbolt 4 hub and put a display on it, just that one display alone requires more bandwidth than is allocated for display and will slow down the Thunderblade on a how to say on a 40 gigabit machine. What I'm trying to communicate, what I'm trying to say here is Thunderbolt 5 really gives you the ability to connect a lot of devices externally with ease without having to give it a lot of, port management. I mean, you can use one port now to really connect everything versus with Thunderbolt 3 and 4. If you have a high-speed data device, if you have a display, you kind of needed to split those up between the different port channels, or you'd be slowing something down. Display always trumps the data. I mean, display will always get the bandwidth that it needs. So if you plug a 5K display into a daisy chain or into a port through a single port, whether it's through a hub or dock or whatever, you're automatically on a 40 gigabit machine, a Thunderbolt 3 or 4 machine, you're going to be reducing how much is available for your data devices. On Thunderbolt 5, you've got 56 gigabits dedicated to display, which is enough for a couple 5Ks without encroaching, without even touching your data side. It's just the flexibility that you get with Thunderbolt 5, the ability to really get the maximum performance from multiple devices from a single port. Because it's up to 120 gigabits total bandwidth versus 40. And it's the big difference thing is what it does for the display side. You have so much bandwidth that's allocated to a display so that when you do plug in our hub, our future dock, you can have your data devices. One cable truly can connect you to a big part of the world with everything working at full speed.
Amazing. And tell us what you're doing to help everybody take advantage of those capabilities.
Sure. Honestly, our Thunderbolt 5 hub is really that perfect tool. You plug it into a single port, and now you got a USB port for a USB-A device, a legacy device, but you've got 3 downstream Thunderbolt 5 ports where you could have 2 displays and a Thunderbolt 4 chain or Thunderbolt 3 chain. You could have a single display and have 2 different chains for different data devices, different connectivity, a 10G adapter, whatever it might be. But essentially, we're allowing you to have, make, that Thunderbolt 5 machine, if it's a laptop, you come in, you put it on a stand, and one cable now can connect you to everything and give you that full performance. The Envoy, for backing up and for to very quickly, restore and transfer data, that takes advantage of the speeds that Thunderbolt 5 gives. Our upcoming X12, which again we'll be showing, we showed at CES, we'll be showing next week and shipping by the end of April. That's going to provide from 18, my mistake, from 12 terabytes to 96 terabytes of high-speed solid state storage that will sustain data rates read and write end to end of over 6,000 megabytes a second. So if you need to edit, if you need to transfer data, if you need to back up, you need to whatever you need to do, this device will provide sustained performance that's actually a rival to what's provided inside systems that ship from the factory. These are sustained data rates that you can use for some heavy duty editing, heavy duty anything in terms of data needs, whether it's AI, visual graphics, 3D, 4K, 6K, 8K, 12K, you name it. This is high capacity. It's reasonably priced, and it is flexible in terms of from that 12 terabytes for less than what it's going to cost for a fraction of that of factory internal storage, all the way up to 96 terabytes. So we're providing solutions that take advantage of what Thunderbolt 5 can do and let you better use a port, especially on more port limited systems, what you can do off a single port. Again, I go home because I have my 5K display plugs into one side. I've got my dock and all my data that plug in, some of my data, not all my data, to plug into another port. And then I have another device that I manually plug into a third port so I can spread things out. That's with a Thunderbolt 40 gigabit system. My Thunderbolt 5 system, one hub, I can connect everything through. I don't have to have, multiple cables being plugged in. And that's a really nice thing. It's that Thunderbolt 5 gives you truly the ability to get those maximum performances, full video support, and not have to, figure out not even have to worry about plugging into multiple ports and have to take out multiple ports to do it.
Just terrific. And that's all the latest and greatest. And it comes to mind that you've been there to assist people who don't have the newest computers as well. I mean, obviously you're doing all this for people who are going to be moving to Thunderbolt 5, but people who have older Macs and such, you've really helped people for I don't know how many years now. I think it's a lot. What is it, 37 now, if I'm counting correct, something like that.
And we're in year 36. It's been a good it's
You've helped people keep those machines going though, and you're still in that business.
absolutely. We still support systems, from a decade plus ago, even more than I'd say some of the we still have components and upgrades for systems even almost 2 decades prior. And if I look at Thunderbolt, the Thunderbolt ecosystem, Thunderbolt 4, and I should say Thunderbolt 40 gigabit 3/4 really hasn't gone away. There's still new machines being introduced that are 40 gigabit. Apple's actually introduced. I mean, if you're buying an M4, that's still a 40 gigabit machine. M4 Pro and Max and Ultra systems have the Thunderbolt 5 interface. And as far as again the need goes, I mean, the stuff that we're producing today is backwards compatible with systems, even Thunderbolt or Thunderbolt 5 devices, as long as you install the current operating system, 15 and later. These Thunderbolt 5 devices we still support on systems as old as 2017 with an iMac Pro, and then pretty much everything else is 2018 and later. Anything that can run OS 15, we're supporting with our Thunderbolt 5 solutions. Now, if you have a Thunderbolt 3 or Thunderbolt 4 system, I would recommend you, unless you're doing something that's NRI, unless you have a system that can take advantage of Thunderbolt 5, I wouldn't pay a premium for a Thunderbolt 5 device. I'd buy what I need for that Thunderbolt 40 gigabit system. But if I want to go between systems and have the max performance on what's old and what's newer, then you get a Thunderbolt 5 device, because that's going to give you the best of all worlds. But we're happy to support and continue to service everything. We also make some of the very best batteries in the world for these systems, and we support Macs going, I mean, about 15 years of age now. We still support the batteries. And something to note, we're looking at this because people, our batteries are not, by no means are the least expensive in the market. But the reason they're not the least expensive in the market is because we're using all grade A cells. And we see so much. There's words I prefer to use, or that would be probably properly descriptive of those batteries, but I'll just simply say they are much lower grade. You do get what you pay for, and you find out that the lower grade product doesn't have the lifespan, the cycle count that I should say the cycle life that the batteries that we provide offer. And as we look at that, I mean, we're considering, hey, maybe there is a point where we literally offer something. We say this is a shorter life battery, or shorter cycle battery. If you upgrade a decade-old machine, maybe you're not worried about that battery lasting another 3 or 4 years, or that system lasting 3 or 4 years. And I can understand the cost savings, but ultimately, I do want people to know, when you spend that extra, typically it's on a $100 battery versus a $60 or $70 battery. You're getting you're getting a battery grade A cells and certification versus something that's of a much lower cell quality and a different life cycle. But just like everything else, these things aren't created equal. And everything we build, from our storage solutions, to our docks and connectivity, and to the batteries, and we build for longevity and sustainability. And long-term sustainability. It's not just environmentally sound. It's not just good for the resources we use. It's good for your wallet, because buying something once that lasts a long time is better than having to buy something and replace it, I say, multiple times over a shorter period of time.
And you can help people get through those upgrades too. Clearly, a lot of knowledge there at OWC.
Yeah, there's free video resources, whether you buy our solution or not. There's lots of free videos, free instruction guides. And certainly with our solutions, anytime you need help, we've got a great support team that supplements those online docs and those videos. But again, we're here to see our customers have success. I mean, we're here to be transparent, open, and honest about what we're providing. I mean, we're reachable. We don't go quiet and dark when there's something going on out there. I mean, we really work hard to communicate. And ultimately, I mean, every day, I mean, this team is here to provide the best product, and not just something that gets by. I mean, people depend on our solutions for their data. I mean, it's everybody, whether it's you're a backup, that's got important data that if something goes wrong or your laptop is stolen, you need to know that data's safe. That's a solution. You're doing a major work, or you're using your stuff for your primary storage. I mean, again, whatever it might be, from home videos to, for all practical purposes, a concert or the Super Bowl or the Oscars in real time live, our stuff has to work, and that's how we build it. We build it so that you can count on it. And, again, we understand the importance of, what goes on our drives and what goes through our connectivity, and there are no compromises.
Congratulations, and that's why you've been in business so long too. The site, real simple, OWC.com. Larry O'Connor, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Anytime, Fred. Thank you. I appreciate it. Always fun.